As for the island of Cyprus, to which some modern writers want to limit the name of Hittites from Izorod, it should be said that it was under the rule of Hattushan for a long time. A special Cypriot script, the Cypriot syllabary, originated directly from Hattush painting, which in proof of the long presence of the Hattushans on the island. The name of the city of Hittios, or in Cyprus, may have something to do with Hattushans, but there are cities of that name all over Asia and Europe. The Assyrians mentioned Cyprus as the land of Jovan. Josephus Flavius mentioned Cyprus, but it was not clear whether the island represented the Hittites of Izorod, although it was the Jews called him Hittite. For Flavius, Ragozin says that his interpretation of the ethnography of Izorod was taken from Chaldeans. This means that even he, as the best Jewish historian, did not find enough support in Jewish science to be able to explain the ethnography of Izorod, and he had to look for additional knowledge on the other side. The Romans have nothing to do with Hattushans, but they have with Hittites. There was a town in Latium called Setia. In Campania, one river was called the Cetium, later the Siluro. These reasons led Eusebius to say that the Latins, that is the Romans, were Hittites. In addition to the city of Cetia and the river Cetium, Boscher also states that the extreme peak of the Italian peninsula was called the Cape or Cetia, terminum Citeorum, and that is why, says Bohardius, Latins can rightly be understood as Hittites. Bohardius cites the Roman writer Servius, his real name was Serbius, who mentions some Camesens on the Tiber, and Bohardius connects the name with Hittites. From all this, we have reliable evidence that the name Hittite was also present in Italy. In the area of Messageta, near the Caspian Sea, and also near the Scythians, Bohardius mentions the people of Kiti. Strabon has the name Kittis, which refers to Aioli. Bohardius believes that Strabon's Kittis are the same as Cimbri with Stephen of Byzantium. In any case, we have evidence of the presence of Hittite name in the north, in the areas that the ancient writers called Scythia. There is a lot of talk in the Old Testament about the Hittites, from Abraham to David. The outcome says how God says to Moses, "My angel will go before you and take you to the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites and the Canaanites, the Hivians and the Yabusians, and I will destroy them all." Samuel, in the second section, describes how David raped the wife of certain Uri Het, arranged for Uri to be killed, and took his wife to his harem. John Campbell left a voluminous work on the Hittites, which he calls Hittites. According to him, the eponymous ancestor of the Serbs should be Zeret, who comes from Heta, and he says, Zeret is form of Zartan, and Kartan appears as ancestor of the Dardanians and Sardinians, and in the form of Herit, Heretites, Cretans and Kurds. The Paschal Chronicle derives the origin of the Dardan from Het. From Zeret are the Zeretites, according to the Jewish way of pronunciation. Campbell cites a depiction from the Mahabharata in which it is said that the gods and Danavi fought each other in darkness because the sun and the moon pierced Sverbina with their arrows. Enveloped in fog, the gods were killed by the Danes along with Balis. Campbell says that the Zaretites or Dardanians under Ardon were enemies of gods of Mahabharata. This means that the Zeretites are from the Old Testament and each from Mahabharata one and the same. He then says that Ardon, in fact Jordan, is the king of Crete, originally from Zeret, whose daughter was Omphala, empress of humans. Ardon and Yardan are two misspelled names, which is actually Sardon. We have already talked about the omission of the initial letter Sima. Campbell goes on to say, the Indian Kurus or Kritas are the same Zeretites from whom the Greeks called Dardanians after their city of Zartan or Zaretan. These Zeretites are brave warriors, true Kureti, heretics of David's army in the last days. They are mentioned of Egyptian monuments as Shardana. Then he says, Shardana and Takoro, they are descendants from Zaret and Kohar, who as Het's descendants were born as free people, they served Pharaoh. This is what Campbell is thinking about. Sardani, professional soldier from the Egyptian pharaohs who became especially famous during the time of Ramses II in the role of his guard. Then Campbell says, west of Macedonia live Illyrians and Dardanians. These two names denote one people, Zeretit. The Illyrians had a bad reputation, as did the Liburnians. They bore the name Yehalelel, the name of the people of the Old Testament, and included among them Dardanians who live in caves, were the best musicians of all nations, and who are named after their ancestor Zeret. It follows the initial letter Sima and not Delta, and that they should be called Serdani instead of Dardani. The Illyrians are not Ziphites as they appear, but are descendants of Titus and Asarel. The former are represented by Deri, so in some transcripts of the ancient writers my tribe is called Deretic, and the latter by the tribes of Enea and Narb, and especially of the Dalmatians from the area between Dalmium and the sea, whose ancestor was Talma, son of Anak and grandson of Arbo. The Zeratids owned Sardinia and held a settlement in Italy, including the place that the Romans called Solaria and Ad Solaria in the northern Etruria and on the coast of Liguria, which Etruscan Eutubian tablets call Le Ilerda. It is certain that they named the river Rodanus or Rona, and that they renamed Pad, the Eridan, after their ancestor Ardon. They had to have migrations in eastern Gaul. In addition to these, in any case, they were taken to the Pyrenees, where they are known as Sordoni, where Iluro was founded by them, and where the tribe of Ilergeta and Ilercauna moved to Spain. Their representatives were also Arevaki, Oretani, and Segobrigi from Arba, Ardon, and Segub, as well as other tribes including Turdetani, and that is the Western Tolteci. Although these statements by Campbell is unusual, it's essentially true. It is said in Izorod that the islands of the people were inhabited by sons of Jovan. These islands are in fact not islands, as we have already explained, but the shores of European countries, which is also understood as Hittite, as Chetim. In English, they call the Gentiles the people of these islands. The Jews also had a special name for the people of the island. Joseph Mede explained it this way: Gentiles or worshipper. That means gentiles, as is called the people of the islands, Sebomeni or writers. Then he says the Jews divided people on Jews and Greeks. These Greeks were Sebomeni. Sebomeni are Serbomani, as the Jews called all Europeans, and Mede says that these Serbomani are Greeks. It's not clear what did he try to say with that, or did he, among the Serbomans, counted Greeks as well. Mede's explanation of the origin of the name Macedonia is very interesting. He says the name Macedonia is a combination of the names Meda and Geta, which should be Medogetia, known in the form of Maketi. Mede says like this: Maketia is the combination of Madai and Kitim. It is well known that the three letters were replaced with same names in Greece and Macedonia, and these are F, H, O in Greek with V, G, D in Macedonia, and vice versa. Ezekiel also mentions the replacement of these letters. This explains how the duality of the name Geti and Heti came about. The Serbian Geti Greeks wrote as Heti. John Fine explains the role of hetera and pesetera in Old Macedonia and says, heteroi means companions and pesetaroi foot companions. From the 7th century BC, the Macedonian army consisted mainly of cavalry provided by heteri, members of the large families and tribes.